Hello and welcome to my weekly drawing review where I focus on a specific area of improvement. As an aspiring artist, it's important to continually challenge and develop your skills, and for me this week it meant practicing constructing heads from various angles and looking for tips to improve along the way. In this video, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the head drawings I created over the past week and offer some self-critiques on what I did well and areas that I can work on for the future. But this video isn't just for me. It's also for any viewer out there who is interested in improving their drawing skills. Hopefully by sharing my own experiences, I can inspire and motivate other self-learning artists out there who are doing their best to improve their skills to keep going. So with that, let's get started. My goal was to practice the basic idea of constructing the head and finding a process that would let me achieve more reliable results. So firstly, I took in the mass of the head itself and then worked out how much of that area is taken up by the face, and then where it turns into the sides of the heads, basically to place the ears. I picked 4 head references and started trying to break it down in a way that I can understand. I did realise afterwards that while I'm breaking things down, I'm not actually making it clear on the page what the process I was using was. On my notes though for this page, I wrote down that I wanted to find the common actions, which means I wanted to discover kind of like a hierarchy of steps that I can work through to build the head. And my own interpretations of landmarks just means that I wanted to draw them in a way that I can understand, even if that means using placeholders like I often do to find the cheekbones or where the underside of the nose will sit. I do find placing the mouth hard as well, so I wanted to figure out a good placeholder system for that too. And also on the 4th one, I did note that it was getting messy again, and I think when I reflect on that, it's when I get either too focused on drawing the object to a certain point of completion instead of focusing on the building of it, not completing it. And I get messy when I've lost a little bit of confidence or I don't know if I'm getting it, just being a little bit unsure. But anyway, this made me realise that I was better off just breaking down the one head multiple times, which is what I did on the next day. Day 2, and I picked a single reference to work from. On the first one, I found the mass of the entire head and then worked out where the face will sit using the brow line as a landmark point, and then the underside of the nose. And then I had to figure out a way to fit in the mouth and the chin without elongating the head, which is a common problem of mine. So I just used a shape to indicate the top lip and another shape for the muscles that hold up the bottom lip above the chin. And then I indicated the cheekbones and the sides of the face, which in turn helped me place the ear. But on the second one, things went a little bit wacky, so I drew a line, an angle line where I thought the angle should be, and it made it clearer how I missed the mark of that angle. And I think that's a useful tool to use if things just aren't looking right. Sometimes you just have to put a line down. You can see the same placeholder shapes reused over and over. On the third one, I thought I put the eyes in too high, but I used the same process to draw the head. And I think the repetition of the construction gives me a foundation to work from. So the final head I thought came out quite nice. There are still a few things a little off, but the process works. The things that are off is just me learning and making mistakes. So my notes were to repeat one head just to make things stick a little bit better in my mind and find and discover rhythms, work towards consistency. I also made a note of how I needed to keep an eye on the general angles and watch out for proportions, but altogether good stuff. Day 3, and I broke things down even further, and I discovered some rhythms that were useful for this profile, and I think I was able to reproduce the angle of the head all four times, which is great. Some interesting rhythms were down the front of the face, and I was even able to make it sweep around the lips and connect back up to the nose. And I found that really fun. I've also found it helpful to connect the cheek to the jaw where the big muscle would normally sit. And all these lines and connections allowed me to see and experience the spaces, the parts of the face the spaces take up. The discovery part was really useful to hit those reward centers in the brain and just make it really fun. The last drawing was a little off. I think I miscalculated the space needed for the back of the head, and mainly because it was intersecting with the previous head, and what I should have done is I should have just drawn right through the number 3 head. Day 4, and I felt like I was on a roll. Not all of these constructions look like the same head, but it felt like something was sinking in and I was understanding a little better about how to fit everything on there. I'm building on the methods I used on the previous days and even trying to improve on them, as I noticed not all the same landmarks are visible on every reference. So I made new shapes for those areas, and for this reference, the part under the bottom lip wasn't as obvious as the other ones had been and totally had a different shape, and even though it functions the same. The cheeks are fuller and the nose a little flatter and wider. I don't think I got that quite right, but I was aware of it. And you can see I'm trying to learn to find the back of the head under the hair, and it goes a little bit wonky on the third one. See that I made a note down there that I was having fun. I was happy with the results, and I am still happy with those results. Good job. Good job. Things are a little bit different on day 5. It was a really challenging day. I was distracted by a few things and I felt like I just wanted to get this last day done. I tried to put everything together as I've been practicing, and for the first head it wasn't too bad, but I had no patience left for the second head. You can see how I've broken both heads down using the corner of the brow and finding the side of the cheek that goes down to the corner of the face, and the shadows in the reference are a really good way to see this turning of the form. And the second reference was chosen so I could practice a downward angle, as some of the landmarks change at that angle. For instance, you can't see the underside of the nose, so I used a wedge instead. My notes reflect that I wasn't in the right mindset, and well, I was disappointed that I couldn't really get a likeness. But when I think about it, that really wasn't the point of the exercise. So somewhere along I lost sight of the purpose of what I was doing and went into full messy head drawing mode. But, I was still happy that despite those distractions and despite the feeling of just getting this over and done with, I was able to get at least this much done. So the big takeaways from this week are that it's important to self-evaluate your process and make new discoveries to keep things fun and interesting. Keep working on specific techniques and approaches, and use repetition to get a better understanding of what's going on, and just cement those in your mind. I know I will be applying these lessons I learned from this critique to the drawings I do in the future. And while it's important to focus on the areas that you need to improve, it's also important to recognize and highlight the things that you do well, just to keep that momentum going and not look at your mistakes as failures, but as more as growing pains to the path of being a better artist. I don't have anything in mind yet for this week, so once I think of something, I'll update the description and create any reference files that we might need. And with that, I do thank you for watching, and I hope you found this helpful and insightful in some way. And I also hope to see you in the next video. So let's keep learning, keep practicing, and keep getting better.